John R. Bibeault, electrician made chief. Well, I thought it was gonna be a lot of fun, okay? Certainly wasn't worried about getting injured or hurt or anything, because I was invincible anyway, I was 18. Trying to think, I had some funny experiences. My first sea detail was anchor windlass room, okay? Well, we pulled in, I guess it was the Pearl. I think it was the first time we anchored out, and I'm in there. Of course, you've been there for hours and you're groggy, and all of a sudden they dropped the hook. Well, when that ever went, I took off, heading this way. I thought sure it was a collision. Didn't take long, I realized what they were doing, okay? We didn't really see much of the Arizona in Pearl Harbor. I did one on the tour. Then they had the monument there, but at that time, you knew where it had been sunk, but they didn't. This, we're talking about 1952, and there was not much to do, except you knew this was it. They did have some kind of marker on it, but that was about it. We had a chief on the ship in our shop. Happy Houston was his name, okay? He was single, had never gotten married. I don't think he ever left the ship all the time I was on it, okay? And when we pull into port, of course it was in between paydays, called the chief's quarters and asked Pappy could he come up to this, and he knew when he did. He'd come in, he had a plastic bag, he opened the bag and he had money. How much you want? 20 bucks, 20 bucks, $10, whatever we needed to charge, and that was it. Took no records of anything. And the guys knew, you better pay him back or we're gonna be on your case. So I don't think he ever got stiffed, but he never kept records. He was a great guy. He got out of the Navy because he had to, because of age and all, and went to Bremerton, Washington to be up with the ship when she went up there. Couldn't help find a nicer guy than Chief Pappy Houston. He was a little older. Well, I figure early in the 50s he had to get out because of age, so. We worked in Korea. Most of the time my battle station was main battery potting room or secondary battery potting room. And you'd be there usually 8 o'clock, 0800, 1600 or later. Then we go back to the shop, and anything that was out of commission, we had to work on that night. And they didn't care if it took you till morning. You stayed on the job till you got it done. And then you go to GQ when you're kind of exhausted. And at my GQ station, it was just in case of emergency I was there. So I told her, I used to sleep at GQ, and one of the officers complained, and I went to the division office, and he said, I'll explain it to him. He said, you can't work all night and expect to stay up all day. In case we need you, you're there, that's what counts. It was mostly shore bombardment, and sometimes I was in the turret, and we had the periscopes. I don't know if you know they had them, where you could see where they're firing. And a lot of times you'd see, I remember one particular, was a train going into the tunnel. And they didn't hit the train, they hit the tunnel, and everything collapsed onto the train. And it was this way all the time, shooting it. And when we first got over there, I remember they'd say, if you see any of these sampans in the water, we gotta shoot them out, you gotta fight. And I thought, that's these poor fishermen, we're gonna shoot at them and kill them. Till I saw the first one, they hit, and it was like the 4th of July. They're mostly mine layers. Okay, they were laying mines constantly. We lost some of our destroyers or DMSs because of the mine laying over there. So you change your view on them right away. We weren't really involved. We did have a newsletter that came out. It gave us most information, but as far as we knew, on the way in the morning, a good part of our time was at Wonsan Harbor. We go into Wonsan Harbor and fire away all day, usually with 5-inch guns. Hopefully that they would fire at us. And if they did, then they'd bring in the 16-inch. But we'd do that, 8 o'clock in the morning, 1600. every day and then back to sea. And this is what it was. You fired with the 5-inch, and hopefully they would fire back at us, and then we would bring in the 16-inch guns. If you didn't do it, guys were disappointed. We were in, I don't know, 3 or 4 days in a row, and we pulled out and went back. And I think it was the Helena, the cruiser, they went in the next day, and the Helena got clobbered, okay? And all the guys on the ship were saying, you know, that should have been us. They were disappointed because we didn't stay that one more day to get fired at. Because normally they did not fire at the Missouri. It got rather tedious, okay, because we did work some very, very long hours. When we came back from Korea, I was the lightest I had ever been, okay? I just wore down to nothing, but because of work, basically. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I didn't lay around too much either. And the other thing was coffee, you know. We just drank coffee like it was going out of style. It was like, you'll never have coffee tomorrow. First Liberty in Japan, I still had the Second World War mentality, because I was just a kid growing up, but it was, oh, those awful Japanese people. Got into Japan, I couldn't believe there were such nice, friendly people, all of them, you know. And I remember reaching in my pocket, I was smoking, I guess, pulling out a cigarette, and all my money went out on the ground. Japanese guy picked it up, chased me down, gave it to me, refused to take anything. So, you know, these people were just great, and I really liked them. From the Missouri, when we got this, we were all very, very disappointed to leave the ship. We just did not want to be transferred. We wanted to stay with the ship, well, just about all of us. And even before that, when we were in Sasebo, to get relieved, guys, we were applying for transfer to the other battleship so we could stay over there. And nobody on the ship wanted to get off, so we couldn't even get a transfer. We pulled into Norfolk, and by then, I was at least happy that I did get another ship. When we left the Missouri, there were 3 of us that were transferred to the Des Moines. The same three of the 6 that had come through EM school together. So we went through EM school, we went to the Missouri, and then we went to the Des Moines together.